Hello, everyone. I'm excited to have this event for entrepreneurs who are doing business in the United States. GoGobo World is your back office to do taxes, accounting, opening companies, and we are here to answer your questions regarding sales tax for SaaS companies, but any other tax matters that are bothering you and you need some help. Feel free to ask this later as well. This is the place where we want to help, and we do this kind of webinars occasionally to help entrepreneurs, absolutely free of charge. And we will have a few slides today. And if you would have any questions to us, you may ask them today or later. We always try to make ourselves available for you. We are your partner in this regard. So here with me today, Tigran Haratunian, our main star and main expert in all tax matters. And Tigran is running a lot of companies for us. So doing this taxes accounting, and he's a very knowledgeable guy, especially for entrepreneurs, startup founders who are starting business and need help. He's the best person to go to. Well, Tigran, maybe a few words about you and we can get started.
Yes, thank you for the introduction. Yeah, as you said, I help corporations with their taxes, accounting, certain corporates, kind of like legal/tax related questions. And obviously sales tax is one of the most commonly asked ones. So I'm going to share something I prepared for everyone. All right. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So sales tax and software as a service. Now, as I said, this has been one of the most commonly asked questions in the software industry, whether and in which cases software producers are liable for collecting and paying sales tax. In essence, sales tax is a tax on consumer spending, right? I mean, anytime you buy something, the seller will collect a tax as a percentage of the sale and send it to the government. Now, it's important to understand, especially if you're not from the United States, sales tax is not collected or regulated by the IRS. It is done by the states. Each state can have its own policies and rates. For example, the state of Oregon has no sales tax at all. California does not charge tax on services or essential products such as prescription or food. And in some cases, individual cities, such as cities in Alaska, are allowed to collect sales tax as well, right? Now, historically, this has been a fairly simple issue, right? I mean, if I was a tax professional in San Mateo, California, typically I would have an office in California and all my clients would be from my area. Or, you know, if I had a bookstore in Texas, all my clients would be from Texas. Now, all I had to worry about was one single jurisdiction and the rules and regulations in one single jurisdiction. Only large, giant corporations would have to deal with interstate commerce and stuff like that. Now, with internet technologies, everything has changed. Now I can work in San Mateo and use Zoom and other technologies to basically help clients from all over the country and even from other countries. Or, you know, if I have a bookstore, I have a pet supply store, I can sell my stuff through my website and my customers can be from everywhere, right? Now, with this new economic opportunities, obviously there was a new question. Should every seller in a different state collect sales tax on their state, in the state the sale was made, right? So in essence, if I have one single client in Florida, do I have to establish presence in Florida and collect sales tax in Florida just for having one single client, right? Now, if before that, nexus is basically a connection, right? So there's physical nexus, which is obvious if you have an office, if you have employees, if you have a store, if you have a warehouse, right? So the notion of economic nexus in 2018 was established, which was basically if the standard would be if I had $100,000 in sales in a specific state, that would establish an economic nexus, or 200 transactions within 12 months, right? Which would mean I would have to establish presence in that state by registering with the Secretary of the State and other agencies and start collecting sales tax. Now, these are the thresholds for every state. Now, $100,000 is kind of like the minimum thresholds, but some states may have increased it to make it easier for others to sell in their states. For example, large states like Texas, it's $500,000, right? So for example, if I'm based in California, I have half a million in sales in Texas, then I have economic presence in Texas, and I'm required to register in Texas and start collecting sales tax, right? As long as the product or service I'm offering is subject to sales tax in Texas, right? Because as I said, each state can have its own policies, right? Now, the following are the states that do not explicitly charge sales tax on software as service, right? So it's Alabama, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Florida, Georgia, Idaho. I don't know if you want me to read the whole list. But basically, if you are a software as a service producer, you do not have physical presence in those states, and you are basically just selling software in California or in Florida, you do not have to worry about keeping a tab on your sales. These states do not charge sales tax. Now, what do we mean by registration and collection? Typically, it will mean filing a foreign qualification with the Secretary of the State. There's a small registration fee. I think the highest is in Texas, which is like $750, but typically it's only a couple of $100s. And then once you have registered with the Secretary of the State, you'll also go ahead and register with the Department of the Revenue of the state, which will basically handle the sales tax collection, right? Now, once again, about the registration. So difference between Secretary of the State and Department of Revenue. Secretary of the State simply keeps information about your company, right? So basically, you have legal presence in that company. People are able to find essential information about your legal address, your representatives, and if someone wants to file a legal complaint, they will typically request that information from the Secretary of the State. Department of Revenue typically is in charge of collecting taxes such as franchise tax, sales tax, etc. So when you collect sales tax from your clients, you will remit it to the Department of Revenue. Now let's look at some key states. So let's start from New York and Texas, right? So for example, let's go back to the thresholds, right? So in New York, the threshold is $500,000 in sales or 100 transactions, right? So if, let's say, your sales in New York have exceeded $500,000 or 200 transactions, you must go to ny.gov, which is their Secretary of the State's website, pay a $225 fee and register in New York. Then, once the registration is completed, you must register for a sales tax account with their Department of Revenue. And from that point on, you must start collecting sales tax from every sale you make in New York. Why? Because New York explicitly taxes software as a service. So you sell $10 in New York after you have passed the threshold, you must collect. Typically, the state tax return is 4%, so it's 40 cents from your customer. But in some cities, it could be as high as 8.875. Actually, New York City itself, it's 8.875. So most of your sales will actually have higher tax rate, right? So you sell something for $10, you typically have to collect 89 cents from your customer. And then typically, either every month or every 3 months or every year. For most states, it's every 3 months. But again, depending on your sales volume, it can go to 1 month. And the state will let you know. You file a sales tax report. In the sales tax report, it's typically filed online. I believe every state now allows online filing, with very few exceptions. You will basically enter the number of your sales, and then their system will calculate how much sales tax you owe. And then hopefully you've collected the correct amount from your customers, because if you haven't, then unfortunately you're still responsible to pay for that. And if you collected extra, you must refund it to your customers, right? But typically, because it's very automated, you should be able to see right away how much sales tax you owe, right? So let's say you just register. You can just do kind of like a dummy, like draft sales tax report just to see what the rates are, and then just, collect that from your clients accordingly. You make 1 or 2 mistakes, not the end of the world, right? But yeah. Texas, same story, right? So you have to head to Secretary of the State's website, pay $750 fee. They also only accept credit cards, so there will be a credit card processing fee. Then you have to register with the Texas Department of Revenue, or they call it state controller. Now, the state tax rate starts from 6.25, but most cities like Austin, Dallas, most of them collect extra 2%, so it's 8.25% in Texas, right? And let's not forget the threshold in Texas was $500,000, right? And also, only 80% of software or service purchase is taxable. So, for example, if I'm selling, my sale is for $10, I only collect tax on $8, right? So, if the tax rate is, for simplicity, let's say 10%, I only have to collect 80 cents, right? So, the sales tax rate from 80% of my sales. So, something important to keep into consideration. All right, Alaska. I don't know, do you guys want me to go over every state or only the key states? Only like the large states?
Let's do large states first, and then we can ask
Okay.
questions.
Yeah, if there are any like specific questions about like smaller states, okay, yeah. So let's see, what other, Louisiana. Well, I mean, we can do, well, it's 6.25 in Massachusetts. Let's do Ohio because Ohio's a bit tricky. So if software is purchased for personal use, it's not subject to sales tax, right? So when you sell something in Ohio, basically it is recommended to ask your customers if it's going to be used for like personal use or business. And if it's personal, don't charge them sales tax, right? And it's starts from 5.75. It can be as high as 7.24. The fee to register in Ohio is $99, right? Pennsylvania registration is 250, taxes from 6 to 8. Let's see if there are any tricky ones here. South Dakota. The state of Washington, yeah, so there are two registrations, right? One from the Secretary of the State, the other is with Department of Revenue. Washington has no state income tax and no state corporate tax, but they do tax pretty heavily your sales. So you must collect between 6.5 and 10.4%, right? By the way, DC, for the purpose of sales tax, is considered the state. So basically, if you have sales in DC, you must also follow the same procedure. Yeah, and this is basically it with the presentation. And if you guys have any questions, primarily about sales tax, but if you have questions about corporate income tax, any other issues directly related to taxation, I'm also happy to answer them.
Awesome, exciting. So before I let the people ask questions, the most common situation usually is the company is registered in Delaware, operates somewhere outside the United States. That's one scenario. Do they have to pay any sales tax in Delaware? And second scenario, that the company is registered in Delaware, but the founders either in, for example, in mostly common in California located, Texas located, or Florida located, maybe New York located. So you mentioned already some of the states, but California, Delaware combination is very common. Can you comment on that, and then I'll let the audience to respond also.
Yeah. So luckily, Delaware has no sales tax at all, so you don't have to worry about paying sales tax in Delaware. Now, if you're incorporated in Delaware and your entire team is outside of the United States, then you have to follow your sales thresholds, right? So, for example, if your sales were $800,000 in Texas, then you must start paying sales tax in Texas. If they were below $500,000, you don't have to worry. Now, California, that's fairly simple because California does not tax software as a service, right? So there's no sales tax on software as a service. Florida does not either, so don't worry about Florida. Texas, as we saw in the example, Texas does charge sales tax. So basically, if you are incorporated in Delaware and you are physically present in Texas, you must register in Texas as a foreign entity. Now, for the purpose of registration, different states are also considered kind of like foreign countries, right? So you have to register as a foreign entity. And once you have registered, basically you have to start collecting sales tax in Texas if you're physically present, right? Because that's your physical presence constitutes a physical nexus. But if you're not physically in Texas, only if you have surpassed the threshold.
Perfect. And final question before we give the audience floor. You mentioned some like very scary thing. I need to register in a specific state or open like a foreign company and etc. So is it that difficult? Is it so much extra layer of complexity? And bro, can you comment on complexity or simplicity of that and maintenance of this?
Not at all. I mean, typically, there's not a foreign company, right? There's just a foreign registration, which is saying, I'm a company domesticated in Delaware. I conduct business in California, so I want to get a permission to conduct business in California, right? And the fees are, again, the most expensive one is Texas. It's $750 to register. In California, it's only like, I believe it's $100. Yeah, it's $100 to register a foreign corporation. And the registration process can be done online. You can do with the lawyer, you can do with online platforms like LegalZoom and stuff like that, but you can also do it yourself. It's not that complicated. All the state wants from you is basically the name of the corporation and a legal address where people in the state can file complaints should you do something illegal there, right? So that's pretty much it. It's not a complex process.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Well, Tigran, can you turn off your presentation so we let people to ask questions? And we have some question from Phil. Phil, do you want to go first? Hello, Phil. Are you there?
Yeah, well, I think my question was more if I'm located in Canada, I'm doing e-commerce, selling software, and I think you said there's the foreign tax in Texas.
Yeah, so if you're in Canada and let's say you have sales in Texas, let's assuming you have no physical presence in Texas, your sales, if your sales exceed $500,000 during 12 months, or you had over 200 transactions, it means you have an economic presence in Texas, which means you have to go to the Secretary of the State's website, pay $750 fee and register. And after that, you must start collecting sales tax from your customers, right? So you sold, something, your product for $100. You must collect whatever the tax rate is, typically 8.25 in Texas. So you would collect $8.25 from your client. And then every 3 months, it's typically 22 days or 21 days after the third month has ended. So, for example, the next one due is October 22nd. You will file a sales tax report and you will pay every single dollar you collected from your customers to the state.
Okay, and is it only Texas?
Well, it's most of the states, right? So, okay, what kind of products do you sell?
It's a shareware. It's a software that prevents other software from crashing or having memory leaks. So it's for development tools.
Yeah, so if it's a software, so luckily there's a large number of states that don't charge software. So for example, California, the largest state, doesn't charge software. Florida, the third largest state, doesn't, but some key states do, like Texas, like New York, like Pennsylvania. And if in those states, similar rules apply, right? So as a rule of thumb, if you have $100,000 more in sales in a specific state, you should start paying attention whether you have an economic presence there, right? So in Texas, because it's a large state, it's 500,000, right? But smaller states like Arizona, like Pennsylvania, it's only $100,000, right? So that's why what I recommend to all my clients: look at your sales statistics. The second you surpass $100,000 in sales in a state, read the rules about that state, right? And I mean, we have the presentation. I think then Daniel can arrange that. You guys are able to download that, and there is a page that shows thresholds for every single state, and that way you can see, oh, Pennsylvania, I had $120,000. What's their threshold? 100. Oh, I surpassed it, so I need to register, right?
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Of course.
Awesome. Are there more questions from you guys? Boris, yeah, go for it.
Hello, thank you very much for this very interesting presentation. I think it's very useful. So I have a couple of questions. So first of all, could you send the presentation later to the group or somewhere to save the information about taxes and about all the amount?
We will figure this out somehow.
I had another question like Phil. So we are registered in Italy, and we need to follow the same advice. Yes, when we have nexus between the states, we pay taxes. But maybe I missed this part. We start to pay only from the amount after 500, let's say, thousands, or even the amount before. Or only after this amount.
Yeah, so only after that amount. So before you surpass the $500,000 threshold or $100,000 threshold, don't worry about whatever happened before that. Once that happened, you must start collecting sales tax.
And even from the clients we had before this threshold.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And another question: how often these numbers? How often does the government change the number? The percentage tax fee or all this stuff.
It doesn't happen too often, but if you are registered with the Texas Department of Revenue, you will receive a letter from the government saying that there's an upcoming change. They don't change it retrospectively. They will give you plenty of notice, right? So for example, if Texas were to change their sales tax rate, they won't do it, from like tomorrow. They would send you a letter that our sales tax rate will go up or down from, let's say, January 2025, right? So that way it will give you enough time to prepare.
And do states have sanctions? I think they have, of course, if we don't pay or don't pay taxes. Do they have some notes before that you didn't pay this amount of taxes or something like this, or we straight will have problems with Stripe and all other stuff?
So they do have power within their jurisdiction. So worst case, they can just basically ban your software, right? Make it illegal to sell in their state if you fail to comply.
Only in their state.
Only in their state, yeah. They don't have power outside, their jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Typically, they will send you a bunch of, warnings and notices and letters before they ban you.
Okay, that's it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sure.
And do you, as a service, are there any companies that help to automate this process? So, because we would like to avoid this, we would like to pay someone to make this stuff for us.
Like we do.
like you do, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we do this, but we don't want to be doing this as a sales call, because this is like really like free help on any questions, and we don't believe that just hiding information from people is the way to go. We truly want to help, so that's why we give you absolutely transparently the way how you can do it yourself, and if you can, you should. Otherwise, you can come to us, and we will definitely help you with taxes, with accounting, with incorporation. All included. We work with a lot of startups and venture funds, like hundreds of them. And so it's the beautiful part of this is the prices are fixed. Everything you need is included, so it's very transparent. But we can talk about that. I don't want to do this as a sales.
Thank you.
Definitely reach us out. Yeah. Any other question, guys? For the sake of information, I'm dropping the email or my email, my team email, and my Telegram, who use wherever. Just reach us out. We will find way to help you. So it's info@goglobal.world. it's my team, or you can reach out to me by Telegram or my personal email here. Connect with me on LinkedIn as well. Any other questions from anyone? Sales tax related, not sales tax related, we are happy to help. Do you guys have any questions about tax deadlines for specific states or tax thresholds? Are you interested in this?
Just a little quick question. What happens if you don't pay your taxes in Texas, for example, and you're located in Canada? Are they gonna extradite you or something like that?
No, so Texas only has jurisdiction within its borders, right? So Texas is not a country. So the worst that can happen, they will just basically not allow you sell in their state, right?
Okay. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Okay. What if you miss a deadline or like you cannot file it on a certain deadline? What do I do with that again?
So what's funny, Texas actually has an incentive for meeting the deadline. So if you file on time, they give you like up to 5% discount on your tax rate. Some states will have smaller penalties, right? So for example, New York is very strict. Even if you're off by a day, they will charge extra 5%. But it's basically penalties, right? If you miss the deadline.
And what about extensions? Like sometimes entrepreneurs cannot file on time and they know that in advance. So other ways to avoid penalties.
So sales tax has no extensions. Why? Because you already collected money from your customers, right? You can't collect money from your customers, then go to a bank, earn interest on that money by filing an extension and file 6 months late, right? So you have to pay as you go. Now, when it comes to things like income tax returns, yes, you are able to get up to 6 months extension if you cannot file in April, right? But not for sales tax.
Okay. Are there any more questions to ask? Tigran is working with a lot of companies. He's a licensed tax advisor, and he can help you on any tax-related questions, corporate, personal, or accounting questions, audit questions. Like if you have any, it's your time. This is the moment. Okay, so let us know if it's a useful event for you. Do we need to do this every month? We don't want to like kind of force people to come. If like 2 people came or 50 people came to us, that doesn't make any difference. We want to help. Do you think that would be valuable for you and for other people to do it on a regular basis, like once a month? Anyone?
Yeah, if you could do more events like this, that would be perfect. Even about how to avoid to pay less taxes and to pay more tax, to avoid taxation or any other stuff. I mean, I think it's very important. Like, I would like to visit them like monthly.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Let's schedule a call with you later on, and definitely we want to help you with your tax matters. We help to save money, but these events are exactly for entrepreneurs who probably can't afford to have a tax advisor or someone and willing to try themselves. We are there to help, and it's free. On this note, I think we can close up if no more questions. It was a pleasure. I hope it was useful. We will reach out to you with our materials. We will see with Tigran what we can share and what we cannot share. And yeah, on this note, you can reach us out and we'll be happy to help you further on. We'll do this events. We'll try to do these events on a regular basis.
I have a non-tax related question.
Go for it.
Google World was doing pitching events every Friday or every 2 Fridays. Are you still doing that?
Yes, of course. There was a break for summer because we need to rest as well sometimes. Otherwise, my team will quit. But yes, the next one will be the pitch practice will be on September 4th, the pitch bootcamp, and GGW Sharks, our famous and well-known in the industry pitch event will be on September 13th. And the other big news is that the offline GGW Sharks are coming on October. It's already published on our platform, so you just go register. Registration is just one click, literally, no joke. You probably know that. And yeah, so you can participate in the events. We are pre-selecting people for pitching, but participation is free. You can learn from each other, you can support each other, you can network with investors during online and offline events. And we usually have a lot of investors on our event.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome, thanks.
So I just want to have one request to you. Every event you see, and our community as well, we would, as you see, we try to help free of charge because we really care. But we also need help from you to spread the word, to make this available for more people. Just support us so we don't have to pay Google and Facebook for like advertising or something to help entrepreneurs. By helping each other, we can spread the word, help many entrepreneurs so we can save money and be more efficient. And for us, helping is part of our business model. We really care. So no joke, and I really mean it. All right. Thank you so much for your time. Tigran, please stay. Everyone, I'm letting you go. It was fun and hope it was useful.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thanks.
Hey guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.